Hey guys, it's me Kirishima here, and today I'm going to be reading a Villian Kirishima Eijiro ex-listener. This is, there's no title to this, so there's no title on this one, so I'm just going to title it myself. A warning, this contains descriptions of mild violence and murder and blood. So if any of those things are like triggering to you, make sure you click off. And without further ado, let's get right on into the video. Kirishima stood over an alley, peering down from his porch on the top of one of the buildings. He had been hunting down this fucker for a while, tailing him as he hunted down his own prey. From what Kirishima had found out, this guy was really messed up. He liked to play games with his victims before killing them. Though this redhead enjoyed killing, just like the next villain, he didn't like to mix and match up the two things. Villains like this guy disgusted him, and to make things worse, he had dared to hunt on Kirishima's turf. Just the thought of it made him growl as he continued to watch. The lowlife had been tailing down his own victim for a while. They were just a little farther down the alley. They had no idea what was going on. It seemed like they were engrossed with jotting something down on what Kirishima presumed to be a notebook. He rolled his eyes. Why did victims always play so clueless? It was almost making the hunt a little too easy. Shaking his head, returning his attention back to the trespasser. Well, now was as good a time as any. Besides, this would-be victim was nowhere. Besides the would-be victim, there was no one around to witness what might have been, or what he knew would be a fantastic kill. Almost a shame, really. With a toothy grin, Kirishima activated his quirk and leapt off of the building. His aim was perfect. He landed on top of the other villain. He heard the crunch of bones as the man collapsed underneath his weight, screaming in pain as he did. Looking into his terrified eyes, Kirishima grinned as wide as he could and said, "Why, hello there. Didn't anyone ever tell you that it's rude to fucking hunt on someone else's property, huh?" The man tried to answer Kirishima, but his hand snapped out, grabbing a hold of his throat and cutting off his words. "Shh, it's okay. I'm a forgiving man." He relished the brief flash of relief that his words had brought. Giving his victim false hope was always fun, huh? Maybe he did like to play too. "Yes, don't worry. I'll kill you quickly." And with that, he began to squeeze with his hardened hand. He had kept squeezing until he had sliced through the entire neck, not even flinching as blood spurted onto his face. Good thing he had worn red today. After patting down his body for loot, Kirishima stood up and observed his work. It was the first time he had tried out this move. He had a theory, and tonight was the perfect night to try it out. It had worked fairly well, though it didn't exactly make for a clean kill. As he was thinking, he suddenly caught a noise. It sounded like scratching. Actually, the more he listened, the more it sounded like the sound of a pen scratching against paper. It was coming from behind him. Frowning, he had turned around to see the person who the villain had been tailing was just sitting there on the ground taking notes. The sight left him speechless as he stood there watching in perplexed silence for several moments. Finally, he grew impatient and cleared his throat loudly. Almost immediately, the feverish writing had stopped and the would-be victims had lifted. That's when he had first looked into your eyes for the first time. Usually, when Kirishima looked into someone's eyes, he saw fear and even a little terror. He loved that look. But right now, however, he was seeing curiosity, something that he really wasn't used to. But that was the only word he could find to describe the way that you were looking at him. Sure, there was some discomfort and sheepishness behind it, but there was definitely curiosity. As the two of you continued to look at each other, Kirishima couldn't help but feel like he was being studied, examined even. After a few more moments, he finally snapped, "What the hell are you doing?" This caused you to jump, dropping your notebook and pen onto the ground. You scrambled to pick the items back up. You said, "Sorry, it's not every day I get to see a real villain in action. I wanted to capture every moment. It makes for excellent material." Your hand was reaching for the notebook, but Kirishima had gotten to it first. As you both straightened up, he flipped through the most recent page. You had made in indignant noise as he held up his hand and gave you a look, effectively stopping you from saying anything. Kirishima couldn't help but notice that you were actually quite attractive. He had also noticed that you were a foreigner, though your Japanese was really good. Tilting his head, he asked, "Where are you from?" You seemed to be taken aback by that. America. Puerto Rico, to be more specific. You're probably not from Puerto Rico, but if you are, hey, I'm sorry if you aren't. He raised his eyebrows. "So what are you doing so far from home?" You shrugged. "I needed to get away and travel. It was just too comfortable where I was." So you like being uncomfortable? That just caused you to shrug again. Shaking his head, Kirishima had returned his attention to the notebook and read what you had written. When he had finished, he stood there for a while, just blinking at the page. He had looked up. "Did you seriously time how long it took for me to kill him?" You shrugged. "Yeah, for accuracy purposes. By the way, how long do you think that you would take on someone like me?" "Do you want to find out?" I mean, the curious part of me wants to say yes, but then I wouldn't be able to apply the information. I suppose I couldn't really stop you, could I? That made Kirishima smirk. "No, you couldn't. You're a little fucked up, aren't you?" You would have frowned at that. "I mean, yeah, I'm a writer, but you're one to talk." You gestured towards the body behind him. He had to concede to that one. "So, what's her name?" he'd asked you. "I'm not sure it's a great idea to give my name, to a powerful villain like you." "Well, I appreciate the compliment. I did just save your life. I think that should grant me a favor or two." Kirishima smirked again, making his meaning clear. "You want me to giving you my name is a favor?" Or so he thought. I figured it would be more polite before going any further. Further where? Also, did you think that I didn't know I was being tailed? I came out to the field for a reason. Getting that creep to follow me was way too easy. Kirishima blanched. How could you be so smart, yet so oblivious at the same time? Might I ask why you're choosing such a messy way to kill? Couldn't you have, just snapped his neck? It seems like it would be a lot easier to hide the body that way. Or do you just not like doing that? How do you keep from getting caught? He wasn't prepared for the stream of questioning. I was experimenting with an idea, and snapping necks is so mainstream and boring, not manly at all. Do you realize I could kill you too, right? This time, you made a face. Then what was the point of saving me in the first place? You don't seem like the type who would just waste time on a kill. Though, if you were to kill me, how would you do it? How long do you think it would take to kill me? Kirishima scratched his head. He was losing control of the situation. You know, that's not what people normally ask me when I say that to them. You know, that's not usually what people ask me when they want to know what I would do to them. What do you usually do to them? This time, he just face-palmed and said, "Seriously?" He held his hand out from his arms. "Look at me. What did you think?" I'm assuming you're not referencing killing. Could you tell me about it? It could make for great material. Kirishima sighed. How about I just show you? He tried out his disarming smile that usually got them giggling, but you just kept on going. Really? That would be great. I'm out for more experience after all. He couldn't help but chuckle at that. Oh, I'll give you experience, alright. Wow, for a villain, you're pretty nice. That chuckle had turned into a scowl almost immediately. Don't insult me like that. What? I just think you're being sweet for helping me so much, Though, have you ever considered making your kills a little less murdery? What is with you and taking out all the fun of killing? Well, I just think it would be more fun for you if you were able to mess with the police, faking evidence and watching them run around like idiots. Kirishima's jaw actually dropped. Maybe you could be of some use to him. How about we take this conversation over to my place? Ooh, a villain's secret lair. It's just an apartment. Don't call it that. Ugh. A few months later. After the conversation, the two of you had decided to keep in touch. Kirishima had given you his contact information, and you started regularly calling him with questions. Those questions would turn into whole conversations. And despite your initial obliviousness, there came a time where you started calling him for something else, and you had been together ever since. Right now, you were sitting in front of your computer. Unfortunately, that was all you were doing. You had just been staring at your screen for what felt like hours. At the moment, Kirishima walked in, breathing a little heavily. "Hey babe, I'm home." You had looked up, frowning at his disheveled appearance. "Did you just go for a run?" "You could say that. Those cops came out of nowhere." You rolled your eyes, returning your attention to the screen before you. Kirishima noted your lack of reaction on your face. That was the look that you gave when you were trying to work past a block. "Having trouble today?" You made a grunting noise, flailing your arms at the laptop. "I'm trying to work out if this kill would actually work the way I think it would. If it doesn't, it would change the whole way the scene goes." Kirishima came up from behind you, leaning in until his chin was at your shoulder. You automatically leaned your head against him as you read over what you had written. "Give me a few hours and I'll find out." He had straightened up and turned to go back out when you had caught his hand. "What? Now? But you just got home." "Yes, but this will bother you all night." "But I wanted to..." He smirked. "To what?" "You know." You grabbed his shirt and pulled him. To pull him, he accommodated you by letting you pull him down and kiss him. You'd moaned into his mouth, causing him to let out a laugh, but to your frustration, he pulled away. "Don't worry, there's something I've had my eye on for a while. I won't take too long, and when I get back, I'm gonna test out a few more ideas of my own." "All night?" He had grinned widely, pulling you closer and gripping your ass tightly. You gasped, flashing brightly. "Fine, but you better hurry. And remember what I told you about avoiding the cops." He waved dismissively and let you go. Yeah. Kirishima was almost out of the door when you spoke up again. "Actually, could I watch today?" That stopped him as he turned around with a grin on his face. Fuck. He was falling in love with you. A different night. You were nestled between a dumpster and an alleyway wall, pen and notebook in your hand. You were so engrossed in the scene before you that you didn't even mind the smell. You were pretty used to it at this point anyways. Eijiro was stalking his latest prey. This guy had started to become a nuisance in the area, drawing the attention of the cops, so Kirishima decided to get rid of the issue. As you would continue to watch, you saw his muscular body tense up, getting ready to leap. His body had rippled slightly as he activated his hardening. You took note of each move that went into his work, every movement so precise and purposeful, perfectly controlled yet wild. You couldn't look away. The kill seemed to take forever, but last mere seconds. Then, when he had finished, Eijiro turned around and walked towards you. He had a self-satisfied smirk on his face, which was spattered with blood. In fact, he was practically covered in it. He was practically covered in it this time. A silver of irritation ran through you. And yet, another strange feeling also coursed through you. You watched as he gleamed in the dim light, moving with him as he continued to saunter over to you. You had found yourself thinking about helping him wash the blood off, taking off his clothes, rubbing his... What? Sorry. What? Kirishima's voice pulled you out of your reverie. You blinked to find him standing in front of you, a questioning look on his face. "What?" you echoed. You couldn't help but notice that your voice came out a little hoarse. His eyebrows raised. "You were staring at me." Shaking your head and clearing your throat, you said, "No, I wasn't. I was just thinking." You quickly ducked your head to look down at your notebook and started writing down things furiously. In an effort to distract him from what you did, you scolded. "What the hell? Wait, what did I tell you about being careful to not get blood on your clothes? This shit is so hard to work out." He didn't answer. He didn't answer for so long as you thought he would. But then you felt a finger lift your chin up, so you were looking directly into his smirking eyes. With his head tilted to the side, he said, "I remembered. I just know you like it when I'm messy." Before you could even think about responding, he leaned down, kissing you roughly. You didn't even fight back, just leaning to the kiss and feeling his sharp teeth grazing your lips. When he did finally pull away, you stared dazedly at him as he smirked. After a few moments, you shook your head and pulled away, a frown on your face. Turning to walk away, you mumbled, "How am I supposed to take proper notes when you keep distracting me with shit like that?" Eijiro just laughed and followed you. Another time skip thing. You were sitting on the couch, your laptop in hand. You had been writing for a while now. The story had been developed quite a bit since over the last several months. It had become about someone who falls in love with a serial killer. Yeah, that was just the sort of idea to come from you. Eijiro sat on the other side of the couch, rubbing your feet, which were in his lap. He watched as you worked. He loved watching you write. You often got this look of concentration on your face, occasionally sticking out your tongue if you were really in the groove. It was adorable. After a few moments of silence, you heard him say, "I'm kinda hungry." You thought, or though your head twitched in his direction, your eyebrows rose slightly, you remained focused on your task. What are you in the mood for? How about some Puerto Rican food? You frowned as you continued to type. Is there any good places around here? Right there. You continued to shake your head and say, "I don't feel like cooking." But before you could finish your sentence, Eijiro had to shut your laptop, giving you a sly smile. Wait, no, I hadn't saved that. But then he was kissing you, and you couldn't help but kiss back. As the kiss began to deepen, he started to lay you flat on the couch. Pulling back slightly, you mumbled, "You're in a good mood today." I practically had a good hunt today. Or I had a particularly good hunt today. He started trailing down your neck with kisses, as his hand slid down to the hem of your pants. Oh, you have to tell me about it. Words were becoming difficult to form. He had pulled down your pants, and you kind of understand what's happening. I don't want to say it. After, my lips are going to be occupied for a while. You giggled as he continued. Boom. Okay, that's the closest thing to NSFW that I'm going to be reading. I love that story. I actually heard Mayday do it, but they didn't like do the after part. They kind of stopped like halfway through the story, so I wanted to read the whole thing out. It's a really good story. I really like it. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and if you did, make sure you subscribe and tap the notification bell so you get notified every single time I post a video. And also like the video because that does something for the YouTube algorithm. And comment down below some other characters you want me to read. I really wanted to read this because Villian Kirishima, that's hot. Like, I have a thing for like blood, which don't judge me. I'm just weird like that. And he would look really hot if he was just like covered in blood. Oh my god, I sound like Toga. Okay, anyways, thank you guys for watching. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.